All right, this is Black Handprint Mafia. I'm RJ Roger, and I got my friend and now partner with me today, Michael D. Leonardo. We're going to address a couple things in regards to Michael's new show, No Excuses, which will be coming out in the weeks to come exclusively on Patreon. We will do a couple things on YouTube, but primarily the show will air at this point on Patreon. So before I get into some things I want to discuss with Michael, Michael, like always, I know I tell you this every day, but I just want you to know I'm incredibly grateful that you selected me to do this with you. Out of all the people that you could have hired to be a host for you, so I'm always grateful. Um, I never told you this, but primarily the reason why I'm really excited and looking forward to doing this is because I'm a I'm a guy who really appreciates the history of Cosa Nostra. I always like looking at systems and trying to figure out how they were formed. I always find that to be fascinating. Any system, the work that went in to building it, to putting it together, is always a lot of complexities there, and it always interests me a lot. But so again, I just want you to know I'm thankful. I'm really looking forward to doing this show with you. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing very well. And just to throw this right back at you, uh, the reason why when I first seen your shows is your analytical approach. I find myself to be, or fancy myself to be, a pragmatic guy. And I see you the same way. You don't have a dog in the fight. You're not a sickle fan, and you're completely objective. No, it's the truth. That's what led me to form a relationship with you and feel you out and see if we had this common ground where we could do something. I have no thoughts or intentions of doing this. Of course, my mind a while ago, somebody approached me and they wanted to do it. It didn't pan out. It predated everybody, but I wasn't ready to start talking about anything at that time. And I found that you can and will, I feel, um, give us a new research approach, which leads me to a site that I've been following for years. It's called the Black Hand Forum, almost similar to yours.
You know what's funny? I don't mean to cut you off, but I never heard that name until I started my channel, and then I started hearing all this stuff about this forum. I never even knew it existed. I'm sure they're mad at me.
Well, you know what? I formed a relationship with a lot of the people that were on there. Unbeknownst, they didn't know who I was at all. Zero. I never let loose who I was.
Yeah.
Uh, and I respected them because they're not attached. None of these people really, except for maybe one or two, attached to a street life.
Yeah.
Probably. The rest of these guys are just researchers, and it fascinated me how these people, non-Italians, some Italians, one Sicilian kid, Angelo, fantastic researcher. The work they've done since the early ons in Cosa Nostra, back to Italy and especially the States in the 1800s, piqued my interest with these guys. They knew stuff that I could have never thought of or heard of. And when I started to be comfortable with them, then I knew they were legit people and would provide a level of security for me. I reached out to them, and we started comparing some notes. And with their info and a little bit of info that I put in, with some names going back to the past, we've formulated some great events in history and people that people never heard of, and they researched the people they already had in their folders. And hopefully they come out with some books. They made some unbelievable charts. They charted
Mhm.
way back. How they get these through these search engines today is mind-boggling for me. But they've had put some stuff together. And this Black Hand Forum, like I said, deserves credit for the record they would create. But these guys needs to get out there. There's
Yeah.
one guy, Rick, that we spoke about New Orleans. I had said something earlier about we're going to do a New Orleans chart. And speaking with him last week, he had a chuckle when I mentioned New Orleans and trying to give me some info on the chart. And he says, Michael, by the way, I'm doing maybe a book or something on New Orleans. And I says, I get it. I'll stop right here. I will not post the chart or the
Yeah.
names that you gave me. in deference to him and respect to him. He's a great guy, and I'll support him in any way.
His last name is it Warner?
Right now, I won't be at liberty to
Oh,
say it. I don't know if he would want me to say it, not say it, but we're on the first name basis, really.
oh,
So
okay.
if he wants me to do that, I will definitely uh, put him on and promote him. If these guys would like, hopefully, at one time or another, come on our show, if they'll indulge us. I think if you're really at the history of that life, I think you really will learn something. Uh,
Yeah, I'm just curious because I read a good research book from a guy named I think his last name's Warner, but I could be wrong. And he's a longtime researcher, so I was just curious if it could be the same guy. But
and there's another guy, Eric, which if you can, RJ, could you drop his link? He
yep,
did a story about the Garofalo crew going way back, which predated some of the stuff that I even knew. Started with my grandfather and going forward. I think people, if they want a nice read, that would be excellent.
yeah,
So, just this is what we want to create. This is what you and I get along with, is trying
yeah,
to create and tell these stories in the right perspective, as factual basis as we can, with documents to back it up. All the way up till, I'm not going to say today because I've been out of the loop for some time now. And for me to speak about contemporary guys would be unfair to them and myself, because
yeah,
I'm not in that street. I'm not in the street no more. But anything that predates that, yeah. And my events in my life, the way I've seen things and the stories that I have, events. I don't even like the word stories because it sounds like fantasy at times. But the events that took place in my interactions with guys that nobody's heard of because they stayed with me and these people. Um, Doing the cast of all the podcasters are out there. They're doing a great job giving some information, their opinions, the way they view the world, and everybody's entitled to that. But people sometimes see the world the way they see it a little differently, and there'll be some guys I'll agree with, and some I'll have some disagreements on the state of events or opinions or their perspective. I'm going to have my perspective, and it's not to challenge them. It's not about that. Is I'm going to give you my perspective or my knowledge of a situation that may be the same exact story as theirs or event as theirs. So I don't want anybody to get insulted, but if they do, I can't control that. I hope they be respectful, like I'll be respectful of them. We ain't here to attack job nobody or hit job on anybody. We're here just to put history in perspective as the interest is out there for our following and this genre is following. We want to
yeah.
be pragmatic. That's about it. And we want to be straight on as we can.
Michael, you used a good thing. I wrote it down as you were talking, but you've been around street guys. You grew up in the life, but also you now communicate with a host of different researchers. So you kind of have a firsthand perspective being in the life and knowing the street guys. But then when you talk to guys who are researchers who are they're academics and they're completely non-street guys. I'm
Right.
always been curious to ask someone like you because one of the things that you get in this genre, and I've taken it from people, is uh, and I disagree with it, but some people take the perspective that if you're not a street guy, you can't have a perspective or talk about this subject, which I disagree with. But so I'm just curious, you speaking with both sides of it, what are the differences that you see with the two of them, or how do you feel about the difference between a street guy who was in the life and just a guy who researches the life?
Well, that's a quality question. And I'll tell you why is, you see, I take a person like yourself who's into the research and you're very analytical like these other gentlemen. A person that comes on the comments that knows a little bit about the street, has family who's involved in the street, they may have a dog in the fight. They may already have a set in their rules and laws
Mhm.
what they were taught. So when I say to a legitimate person, quote unquote, yourself, right, that's a researcher, you at times you can never understand my perspective, my
Mhm.
being in it. I've had a lot of times people say, Michael, X, Y, and Z happened to you. How do you still have any consideration for people? How could you not say, "F those guys, F that life. This life was a bad life. Now I've come forward. They're all no good. Everybody." I can't do that because that was my life. And maybe I could make this clear. When I speak in terms of events, they're going to be in terms of me then, my mindset then. I think once you start putting your position 20 years removed or so, and now your feelings on the events then, I think they really get skewed, not screwed, skewed. Because the way you felt then is led to those events that you were in then. The way you feel now, postscript, let's say later on, you're going to say, well, let me put this footnote on the back. This is how I feel now. That's a different subject. Don't put the event with your feelings now because you can't. It's diluting your story. A lot of guys may feel like what they did was wrong and try to correct it now in their stories, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Wrong is wrong then. If it's wrong now, just correct it now by saying wrong. That's why I want to be more pragmatic in my position on all this stuff. And again, I respect everybody out there for what they have to say. That's their thing. They're doing well. They're comfortable in their skin. God bless. But I may have a different opinion of that. I look at myself with utmost scrutiny on what I've done in my life. And I think you know what a lot of other people
For
know.
lack of better words.
So, how do you trace the events if you're going to have a different mindset now? You can't because you're diluting what it is. We got to own what we did, good, bad. I'm not going to say indifferent because the mob there's not too much indifference. But that's what I like to say. You see somebody like yourself, we can't understand at times because you didn't live it. If you're a true believer in anything in life, whatever your passion is, I can't tell you if you fall out of love with your passion or you get hurt by your passion, how to react. I could try to support, but I can't. I can't feel what you feel. It's like mourning somebody. You mourn somebody's death, which leads me to my cooperation. I will tell that story about my feeling about mourning. There's a little story to it. Whether anybody believes me or not, that's okay. But I will tell it how I felt. So as far as history goes, let's put it in its proper perspective. And I think we'll be okay. I think the people will enjoy this. The commentaries that I've been reading, the comments coming in, even the negative ones, we welcome them. We will welcome them. If you give me insight on something that may be wrong that I said or you said or my researchers said, we'll welcome it. Give us the critique. We're not going to run away from anything. We're just not going to get into argumentative stuff going back and forth. Type this, type that. I don't believe in typing tough guys. People want to call each other names. I could call that. I know a couple of bad words I can say about people. They can say about me. I don't think we need to go down that road. Let's be as respectful as possible. So many people want to take that road. That's fine with me.
That's why I like, that's why I really enjoy working with you because I think we kind of see the world in a very similar perspective. I've been on YouTube for almost a year, and a couple of days from now it'll be a year. And I don't, by and large, unless I really don't really block people for the most part. I bet in the whole year I might have blocked 5 people. I don't argue back. All my comments are public. You can see them. I never, no matter what you say, they're up right now. I always just be respectful in my reply. But it can be tough on here, but I'm not going to let somebody else's anger and negativity turn me into a person I don't want to be. And I think me and you kind of see the world similar. So I know you have an appreciation for the history of this subject, just like I do. You're born into it. So I see even more, it means more to you, but I think that, we're similar in how we, and what we want to do with this. So I'm looking forward to it. I think people are going to be fascinating. I got to talk with Michael for 100 hours already. So there's things I know that you guys don't know, and people are going to be fascinated. I think you're brilliant. I think if anyone doesn't know, Michael's well read. He's historically briefed. He pays attention to current events. He knows the history of where he comes from, his lineage, everything. So you guys are going to get an intellectual show, which if you want to really learn something, it's going to be different than what's typically people like Michael do on this platform. And it's not even all about his life. A portion of it's going to be about his life, but another portion of it's going to be about the history of his culture. Correct? Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
people that I have interacted with on a personal basis that was in that life, and there's some nice, really nice, intimate stories. But maybe people don't know how these people really function in life. That they did have personality, they had families, they were kind-hearted. Some of them. Not everybody was an animal. And again, this is not glorifying me loving this. I mean, it's just what my life. It's going to be way I seen people. Am I going to stand here, like I said earlier, and curse that life? I loved it. I unequivocally loved that life, and good for good and bad. You know, I understood the bad. I felt the pain of the real bad in that life, unlike a lot of other guys who felt the pain of somebody talking bad about them. So I'm getting mad. But I want to give you a question, and we talked about this. Tell me the reason why, when you asked me if I read Gravano's book, tell me the reason why I read somebody else's book or looked up any other information. Tell me the reason why I said I did not, if you recall.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, that's funny. In regards to Gravano's book and many books that I have advised students read, that's a great question, Michael. I'm glad you asked this live on air. Um, you told me that you don't want to read other people's perspectives and angles because you never want to convolute your own. So you're, and we all do that. We have our own perspective, and then we read this, and that, and before you know it, we lost touch with what we thought. So, because I've asked you about a number of books from that life, Joe Bonanno's book, people's testimonies, Sammy's book, bunch of books, and you told me that you haven't read them. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to pollute my brain throughout
Yeah.
time, not for this show.
Yeah.
This was, Sammy's book, to tell you the truth. I read maybe a chapter or two in that book when it first came out. I didn't have the stomach for it. I was extremely close with Gravano my whole life since a kid. We had to separate. I didn't hang out with him when I was 12. My brothers don't, but I knew Sammy Street. And then as I got into the street, we wound up in the same family. We interacted a lot, real lot. We were very, very close. And I looked up to Sammy greatly. I revered Sammy. It was somebody that was street and someone I identified from my neighborhood, like my block. So when I got to read his book at that time, he flipped. It was sickening to me. That's why I know that people could be sick with what I did. I understand that. And the commentary on here, which leads me to this, the people that I've impacted in their life negatively, their family members, have every right to attack me and say whatever they want. I mean, that's only natural. When you hurt somebody that's loved, the only thing you can do is try to defend their honor or curse the person that hurt them. That's just a natural position to take. So I understand that. And having said all of that, I think we have a good project. We'll do it as long as we can, and we'll take the interactions from people who want to come on and touch on some subjects that maybe they want to talk about. If we get enough people who want to talk about one individual or a time period, a time frame, you and I will get together and see what we could do to put that together. There's a lot of people I know that they want me to talk about, and we'll see. Like I said, the contemporary guys, the guys around today, I'm not in the street anymore. I really don't have too much to say about them because if I don't have a fact or a dealing with them as of right now, I'm not going to state it. I'm not going to put anything false off there or put a tag on somebody that I don't know. It's not going to happen. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the viewership. opine on things like that is not in your wheelhouse and your info, why? We have enough to tell. We have enough to do. I don't have to exaggerate it or do anything like that. Again, I welcome the challenges by anybody, whether it be another podcast that says, "Hey, Michael, you got your events wrong." Hey, I'm open minded. I'm not an encyclopedia, even though I've been called something close to that. But when we're not encyclopedias, a lot of times I have to knock the rust off. And I just want everybody to enjoy this as best they can. And if you don't enjoy it, tune us out. But we want to have fun doing this and not hurt anybody in the way.
We want it to be fun.
Right.
Have fun. Right. I don't want to be mentally drained.
So well, thank you for the opportunity, everyone, and that's interested. And I hope you enjoy everything.
Hey, Michael, last time we talked, you said that I got all dead guys on my wall. What do you think?
The guy's 67 sitting next to you. You're a child.
He's alive, though.
I get close to that little house. You know what the little house is? The little one. What? The little house. I'm getting close to the little one.
Oh, yeah.
The one over there in St. John's.
I missed that. What you
cemetery?
St. John's. Oh, my God.
Yeah, my whole family was there. Well, another quick little story. When my grandfather came to the country and they started making some money, probably bought those plots. He bought 6 or 8 plots at that time in anticipation he may get killed. Because that's the way those guys did it. They all bought, not all, again, all that. I want to stay away from absolutes. But a lot of the guys went there and bought plots because they thought they wouldn't make it. And there's one left. So we'll see.
He bought it when he first came over?
A little bit. He came over when he was 15. So when he started making some money later on, he bought a whole bunch of, everybody's in St. John's. The people of that era, most of them went in St. John's or Greenwood. But all the Sicilians, again, all of the Sicilians, St. John's.
That's funny. You know, in my book, I wrote a book, as you know, the 36 Rules of the Bosses. And my rule 36, I spent 3 years studying that book. It's funny you just said that perspective, because rule 36 of the bosses is buy a plot. Every boss has his day. And in my research, what I was finding is that a lot of guys were going out and buying a burial plot while they were rich and happy and life was going good for them. And but they were prepared that they knew that they could die anytime. Lucky did it. Frank Costello did it. It was a bunch of guys who.
And they're all in St. John's.
Yeah, I know. But they bought it while they were on top of the world.
Yeah, well, they knew those guys. They realized what it could be. Listen, you don't have to make a mistake to die in that life. You don't have to make a mistake. You could be too well liked and die in that life. You could do all the right things and die in that life. At that time, this time, any time. That's what the treachery is about. And that's why, no going in. You got to go eyes wide open, as macabre as it seems. So
Big Paul said, "This is a wonderful life. If you don't do anything, then screw it up."
You don't have to. Big Paul was prophetic, I guess, right? And
There you go.
Do anything wrong, but somebody else's eyes he did something wrong. It was a matter of what he may do right. So quote unquote, with drugs and all stuff, that he did something wrong in somebody's eyes, right?
Yeah. That's a good
if
point.
He was going to force a right, a wrong hurt him.
Yeah.
He was a hypocrite too about drugs. So that's another day. But going back to St. John's, if you go way back, that's a museum of mob people. There's more places in there than anywhere else, except for Sicily, because that's where they are. But here, St. John's is a place.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, Michael, we're looking forward to all the stuff that you're going to share. Thanks for coming on my channel and giving a little bit of introduction to what's going to be happening. So later on, in about an hour or so, or as soon as this is over, maybe an hour, there'll be a new release on Michael's channel. It's on the history of Cosa Nostra. I think it's great. I think you guys will learn something. So anything else you want to say, Michael?
Yeah, let's leave off with this. When you deal in death, you may get death dealt back to you one day. Everybody should know that going in that life. That's why stay out of it. If you don't have the skin for it, bad things come out of that life.
Wow. Very true. Michael, thank you. See you again soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.